Hello all and Hyper Halloween. A few years back, I made a video on my thoughts of the Cube series. I ended that video with some promotional images that I found online of a Japanese remake that was slated to come out in late 2021. Well, I finally watched the remake, so I figured I should revisit my Cube series retrospective and talk about the series some more. I'd also like to add in a few other things, mostly, how does the film Gleaming the Cube fit into the series? I mean, it has nothing to do with the giant cube at all. Seriously, I'm completely lost here. Also, what about 1998's Sphere? That film certainly cut some corners. Also, how did people navigate the two-dimensional circle in 2015's Circle? Okay, on a serious note, I'm actually just going to tackle the 2021 remake today. Did this version recreate the masterpiece that is the original Cube, or is it another Cube Zero? Watch my retrospective if you're curious what I mean by that. The link is in the description. In any case, let's find out.
It's Hyp3r Halloween.
So I'm very tempted to copy bits and pieces from my original retrospective review of 1997's Cube and use them here. Don't get me wrong though, Cube 2021 is not a shot-for-shot remake, but it does share a lot of similar story elements, concepts, and ideas though. The 2021 version serves as a reimagining of the original cult classic, and it attempts its best to capture the essence of the original as well. It also attempts to introduce new elements to bring it into the 21st century, to appeal to modern audiences, I guess. But does this reinterpretation successfully stand up to the original, or does it fall short of expectations? Well, like its predecessor, the story of Cube 2021 revolves around a group of strangers navigating a series of cube-shaped rooms. They quickly band together and try to rush their way through the rooms to find an exit. Like the first film, the cubes are mapped by Cartesian coordinates, and that's how people trapped in the cube can tell which rooms contain death traps and what their current location in the cube is. There's also a more quote-unquote high-tech element to this version of Cube, as well as a more supernatural element, for lack of better terms. The cube from the 1997 version of the film didn't really seem to serve a purpose. It just existed. In the 2021 remake, the cube seemed to be focused on one of the main character's personal struggles and inner turmoil. For instance, there's a tragic life event that is broadcasted for him and other people to see. In fact, this event is also spliced into the movie at random intervals as well. Okay, they're not always random. Typically, something happens to the character in the cube that triggers the main character's memories. But these scenes are so jarring because they pop up out of nowhere. It's mostly the same scene that replays over and over. Honestly, I'm not a fan of this for two reasons. One, it isn't explained why his memories are shown via a projector, and two, it kinda takes the realism out of the movie. I mean, I get it's the movie's attempt to humanize one of the characters, but I like the original where A, we didn't have random memory scenes spliced in, and B, we had to rely on character dialogue to make our own decisions on the character. The set design of the remake seems a little smaller than the original, and this is both a cool thing and a negative. The smaller set leads to a feeling of claustrophobia with everyone being cramped, but some shots also look very busy with everyone standing in a small room. The cube design itself is fine. I prefer the set from the first film out of all four, but 2021's is unique in its own way. In the original, each room had a specific color that helped differentiate one room from the other. We kind of get that in the 2021 version, but the sets actually change color while the characters are in the same room. It's kind of cool because the colors can fluctuate with characters' moods or if a trap is about to go off. That said, it honestly really looks like the characters are just in one room at all times. Another thing about the rooms, The 1997 film succeeded in building a sense of dread and unease by using minimalist set design and atmospheric lighting. It created a haunting and oppressive environment. In contrast, though, the 2021 remake used brighter lights for the cube rooms, at least until the traps are set off or a character gets upset. When the cube isn't reacting to the cast, it reminds me a lot of the set from Cube 2, Hyp3r, in that it's very bright. Let's talk a minute about the character development. I already mentioned this, but viewers get glimpses of the main character's background throughout the film. He has flashbacks when certain events occur. The flashback we see is of him not being able to save his brother. It's okay for characters to reveal things about themselves throughout the film. I mean, the characters in the 1997 version did that. But these memory scenes are so jarring when they pop up. They honestly just seem out of place. And what I mean by that is, the character will be looking at someone and all of a sudden the scene will play. It's also weird though because there are other characters that really don't get any backstory at all. It just seems like an odd choice. The biggest issue for me is that this film seemed like it wasn't sure what it really wanted to be. As a remake, the 2021 version is just okay. It isn't a carbon copy, and it does try to humanize the characters, or at least a few of them, by giving them emotional traits, albeit shallow traits. The traps are uninspired, and the acting is just meh. It also didn't do anything to break out of the original shadow. It keeps the purpose and creation of the cube vague, but it also adds things that makes it more confusing. In the 1997 version, the cube isn't explained, but you can kind of piece things together through character dialogue. In the remake, nothing is explained, and the cube seems sentient. There's also a twist ending, and the film leaves the door open for a sequel, as one of the main characters seems to have survived a trap room and is still stuck in the cube. The movie also shows a new group of people at the end, but I think this is less leaving the door open for a sequel and more to show that the events will continue indefinitely. I won't spoil the twist ending, but I will say that I thought it was dumb and uninspired. It honestly left me more confused than anything. Think Cube Zero levels dumb. So, I know I've been pretty hard on this remake, and that's mostly because I'm comparing it to the original film, a film that I hold in high regard. Let me try to separate the films for a moment. Viewers don't get a lot of background on the cube itself, and that's kind of a step in the right direction, especially when compared to Cube Zero, where we got too much information. But the remake also gives us information that is never really followed up on. Above all, I was kind of bored watching the remake. The remake does offer a modernized take on the original film, but it ultimately falls short in recapturing the magic from the original. While the film introduces some interesting new elements to the story for a contemporary audience, it sacrifices much of what made the original so compelling in the process. Fans of the original may find the newer version lacking in depth and atmosphere, ultimately leaving them disappointed. That being said though, I think the remake is just decent. Honestly, a slightly less than a middle-of-the-road experience through and through. I give Cube 2021 2 cubes out of 5, barring another rewatch. Granted, the story is simple enough that it doesn't need multiple watches, but I feel like it's only fair since I've seen the original 3 films so many times, and I may have missed something in my initial watch. And it should go without saying that I still think that the 1997 Cube film is the best in show if I'm being honest. Well, that does it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, thank you for watching. Also, have a hyper and safe Halloween.